Awesome. Guys, I'm here to challenge you tonight. I'm here to make you think differently about the way you live. When I was asked to do a talk, I was asked to think about something that's inspired me, something that's had an impact on my life. And one of those things that has really impacted my life is poverty. Fortunately, I've never lived in poverty, but I've experienced many examples of poverty. And that's what I want to share with you tonight. Let's hope this works. Poverty can be defined in many different ways. This is just one definition of poverty. Poverty is hunger. Poverty is a lack of shelter. Poverty is not being able to see a doctor. Poverty is not having access to send your child to school. There are many different facets to poverty. It is not only not having money, because there are bigger impacts than that, as we can see here. Right? Not having a job, and we're living one day at a time. Poverty, there isn't a one-size-fits-all poverty. It is different for every country. For example, in the US, you are classed as being in poverty if you are living on less than $12,000 a year. In India, if you're living on less than $12 a month, you are classed as being in poverty. So if we make the comparison, that's $244 a year in India. Crazy. Which equates to 40 cents a day. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all for poverty. It varies per country. The reason I'm talking about this is because this has had an impact on me, and I've seen in many examples, and I will share a couple of those examples with you now. Not next, right? When I was in Africa, I volunteered in Africa for 6 weeks, and I was fortunate enough to go and visit people living in their houses. To call it a house is extreme. One family I visited were living in a mud hut. The size of the mud hut, Mr. Marvin, I apologize, I'm stepping off of the red carpet. The size of their mud hut was probably double the size of this. Long. Wide, this wide. There were 4 people living in that mud hut. There was a mother, she had 2 daughters, and then they had a younger son. And all 4 of them shared that mud hut. If it rained, the mud hut collapsed. If it rained when they were sleeping on the floor, they got wet. For food, this family would eat a pot of potatoes. That was the one meal they had a day. And that was it. One meal. There are no nutrients in potatoes, or very little. Fat, protein. There is nothing there, and that's what they ate for the day. The mother, she collected charcoal. I don't know what you call it in Spanish, but she collected charcoal that other people had dropped to sell. And that was the way she made money for the family. I'll move on. I'll show you another example. I went outside and I picked up this mango. For those guys living in Africa, this is a luxury item. Not because they can't buy it, but because they can't afford it. They're there, they're in the shops, but they can't afford to buy this. I don't know how much these cost. I pick them up off the floor outside at school. But they can't afford to buy this. They would buy this once a year for Christmas. That would be their Christmas luxury, a mango. So please think. And for these people, it is so difficult to break out of that poverty, to break out of that bubble, because it's that vicious cycle. They don't have money to send their children to school. And if you don't go to school, you can't get a job. And you're stuck in that cycle. Right? So many of these families are helped by NGOs, by people donating money. Right? That's the only way some of these people ever get out of this situation. The speech is not about me tonight, but I'd like to share you, and I apologise again. These are my 4 children in Africa. Not my blood children, but these are the children that I care for in Africa. This guy here, sorry Mr. Marvin, this guy here, it was his house I was talking about. I was lucky enough, and I have been lucky enough to go and visit all 4 of these young men, young adults. All right, but we're not going to talk about them for too long. But I'm hoping and I pray that they will get out of that cycle of poverty, because they've been living in that until now. And I pray that that will change. So, what I want you to think about and challenge you is to think about your life. Is to think about when you go and spend money. Do you really need that? Think about the way you behave. So many students in school, I hate being in school. These students would give everything to come to school. So think about that opportunities that we have. I'd like to share 2 examples from this city where people have made a difference and they've thought differently. One of them took place in this auditorium. November last year, we celebrate Thanksgiving. And at Thanksgiving, the students bring food and they share food. There was one grade level. When they finished, there were 5 or 6 girls that collected all of the food that wasn't touched, that wasn't eaten. They collected it all together and they made up food trays. They boxed it all up and they took that to homeless people in the city. Normally, that goes in the trash. Someone else takes it home who doesn't really need it. But those girls collected it together and they donated it to somebody who needs it. Another example, McDonald's in near Bavaria. There are always homeless people living outside, begging outside McDonald's. I witnessed a lady with her daughter. She bought an extra Happy Meal for those children outside McDonald's. That's not going to take them out of poverty, but for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, those children would have been so happy. All because of that one thing that lady did. For her, very small. For them, massive. Would have changed their day. They would have been so happy. And that's what I want you to think about. So, I challenge you. We can't stop poverty as individuals, but you can think about the way you behave. You think about when you come to school, how lucky you are to be able to come to school. You think that when you get some food your mum gives you, you don't like that, it goes in the trash. Think about those people that are eating 1 meal a day. A bowl of rice. Think about that. And you're throwing, no, I don't like it. I don't want it. Right? So I challenge you to think differently. To think and to make the most of the opportunities you have in life. Most of us have everything we want and need. So please think, do I need another pair of shoes? Do I need to buy that $5 coffee? Or can I do something different with that money? Thank you.